All right. Well, good morning. Looks like there's a whopping one person here today, Kristen. Not sure what happened. I don't know. I mean, I had, of course, part of what's different is this one's on Tuesday. The other two have been on Wednesday, the previous 2 weeks. But, I mean, I had 6 or 8 people last week for InDesign. I had about half a dozen people for Dreamweaver the week before. And this one, from what I understand, was completely booked. I mean, they didn't have any more seats available. So I'm curious. I just hope everybody realized it was Tuesday and not Wednesday.
Well, maybe we can wait a minute for them.
Well, we'll wait. Yeah, we'll wait maybe 3 or 4 minutes just to see, because there'll usually be a straggler or two coming in, but I hope there wasn't the confusion about the Tuesday-Wednesday thing.
I got the email reminder.
Okay, well, I figured everybody would have gotten a reminder, yeah.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it was good that I got the reminder, because in my brain it was Wednesday. So.
Well, it would be without email.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody should have gotten that same reminder.
Yeah. I did have a question in the meantime, if you don't mind me.
Sure. Go ahead.
Because I tuned into the InDesign one last week.
Okay.
I haven't switched over to the cloud version yet. I'm still on CS 5.5.
Okay.
How does it work when it comes to software updates with the cloud version? Like, will there be a CS7, a CS8 going forward, or is it just going to continue from CS6 and just stay at CS6 continually updated?
That's a good question. From what I understand, the concept of these version numbers of CS2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will probably go away. And since the updates are pretty much continuous, there should be an update. There should be major updates to the programs every 6 months. I believe that's what they have said. And, of course, any issues that occur, any ongoing problems, bug fixes, things of that nature, occur on a regular basis.
Right, right. Well, because the reason I'm asking, I was kind of, CS6 has been out for a little while, and I was contemplating moving over to the cloud, but I wanted to wait until if a brand new version's about to come out, like CS7, I was going to wait for that and then do the upgrade.
Now, the cloud is the new version.
Okay, so
Right.
from now on, it'll just be that.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And the nice thing is it's going to be it'll be more seamless as far as updates. When you first install the cloud, you get this update manager, which actually I had it running a moment ago and I turned it off because it uses resources. But anyway, it's just a screen that comes up that shows you what's currently installed, what updates are available. And it depends on the plan that you've got, because right now the situation with the cloud is you can either get a single version for $19.95 a month, or you can get everything for $49.99 a month or $49.95, something like that a month. And they are offering a special through the end of August for existing users. So if you have CS6, you can get a single update, so you can just update a single product for the first year for $9.99 a month. If you want everything, then it will be, and if you have CS6 products, it'll be $19.99 a month. And then if you have CS2, 3, 4, 5, and 5.5, it's $29.99 a month. And then it goes to $49.99 a month. So $50 a month, basically. But for at least for that first year, you get a substantial discount. And I think I mentioned last week July was when I reached the end of my 1 year. So, because I was using the cloud subscription for CS6, as a matter of fact. So
And so the only two choices right now are to pick your specific software or do the master collection. There's not like a design premium, web premium. Like
Correct. Those packages have the print, the design, the web, those packages have gone away. So it's either a single application or it's basically the master collection. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. And in the long run, that's still less costly. So when you consider the full price of getting into something and then the upgrade costs every 18 months, which is what it had been in the past, it's still less costly. So
right. And then as far as compatibility, like if I'm working with clients who are back on CS4 or is there any problems with that moving over to the cloud?
Yeah, there can be some compatibility issues once in a while. You know, that's the way it is with all software. I mean, you won't have any issues looking at their older files, but you can't do anything and give it to them in a CC format. Yeah.
But I can back save it to CS4 the way I can now.
You know, that's a good question. I've got it open here. Let's take a look at this, because if I open something up real quick here just to take a look. Yeah. My computer keeps telling me every time I open that up that I can't do 3D because this machine doesn't have enough video memory to do that. So I do a save. Life goes on. You know, that's the way it goes. I can't help it. So what do we got? We've got PSD, large, bitmap diff, Photoshop EPS, ECS 1 and 2, Photoshop PDF.
Like a lot of times in Illustrator, somebody will ask me, can you back save it to a CS3 EPS? Like maybe that's what they're using.
Yeah. I don't know, it just doesn't look like this offers the option besides the EPS files.
I think you said it's not possible to keep a version of CS 5.5 running while you're also upgraded to those CS6. Is that right?
You can't run them both at the same time, right? On a Windows machine. Now you can on a Mac.
Oh, okay, I'm on a Mac.
You're on a Mac. Yeah, you can on a Mac because I've done that before. Matter of fact, when I was demonstrating Dreamweaver, I demonstrated both CS6 and CC simultaneously because I was doing that on a Mac. So.
Okay, so potentially I could keep a version of 5.5 for those specific clients.
Yes. Matter of fact, I've got 4, 6, and CC on this machine. I can't open them up at the same time, but I can open them up separately, you know.
Gotcha.
So that'll work. All right, so we've got one more person. Alex has joined us. So I think we'll go ahead and proceed forward with our webinar here. Sorry that the rest of the folks that were supposed to join us didn't. Of course, that helps you guys when it narrows down the who's going to win the year's subscription to Photoshop, InDesign, or Dreamweaver. Yeah, it should, because I mean it should be based on attendance, not registration. I think that part I honestly don't know. So as far as what's going on in CC, what's new, one of the first things that you should notice is that when you do decide that you want to move to the cloud and you want to download Photoshop CC, there is no download of standard versus extended like we had in the past. For the past few years, we've had a regular version of Photoshop or a standard version of Photoshop, and we've had the extended version. The extended version has the 3D and video editing capabilities that the standard version didn't have. No difference anymore. Basically, what you're getting is what was referred to as the extended version. So you're getting everything. Okay. So that's a good thing right out of the gate. Also, when you first open up Photoshop, one of the first things it's going to ask you, this actually started with CS6. CS6, when you first installed it, when you launched it, it offered you the capability, excuse me, of updating your presets. That was one of the first times that was available. Otherwise, it was always just trying to migrate everything over and get all your presets and brushes and actions and all that kind of stuff to come on over. But with CS6, the only thing that it would actually bring over were those presets that you intentionally saved as presets. That's not the case with CC. When you open up CC, the very first thing it's going to ask you is, do you want to migrate your presets? And if you click on yes, everything that you were doing anything that you had set in CS6 is going to be brought over. And that's really nice. I mean, all your actions, all your presets, brushes, things of that nature that you may have installed in a custom fashion are going to be brought over. And then from that point forward, one of the other options that you have is, and I've mentioned this in the previous two sessions, that's the fact that one of the things that the cloud offers is the ability to install and activate any of your applications on two computers. So like in my case, I do most of my work on my MacBook Pro. That's not the machine I'm on right now. Right now I'm on a desktop Windows machine, and I keep this around because I also end up teaching things that are specific to the Windows operating system. So I can now synchronize my versions of Dreamweaver. I can synchronize my versions of Photoshop. I can synchronize my versions of InDesign. So any custom settings that I put in place, I can synchronize between the two machines. And the nice thing is that's actually just in your preferences. You can actually come down here to Sync Settings under Preferences. Of course, on a Mac, that's just under the Photoshop menu option down to Preferences. But your sync settings would be Preferences, Actions, Brushes, Swatches, Styles, Gradients, Custom Shapes, Patterns, Contours, Tool Presets. And if there's ever a conflict, it defaults to Always Ask, but you can use the local or remote settings. These are synchronized with the cloud, so these settings are stored with your cloud subscription, and then when you log into the other machine, what you can do is you actually have an option here. Let me close the mini bridge just for a second. Or I guess what we can do is, actually, if I have something open here, that should allow me to see what's going on. So right now, this little button right here, right next to my zoom control right here, allows me to synchronize. So if I clicked on that, those are my sync settings to the cloud if I wanted to make use of that. So it is possible to synchronize at any particular point. So that's really convenient, especially, like I said, just the fact that you have the capability of installing this and activating it on two separate machines. The standard thing that people usually talk about is the fact that you'll have it on your home machine and you'll have it on a work computer, and then you can synchronize your settings between those two devices. Or like in my case, like I'm saying, all the work is done here at home, so synchronization can occur between a Windows machine and a Mac and make life a little bit easier. Some of the other changes that we will see are going to be subtle, and maybe something that you won't notice right out of the gate. One of them here, let me just open up. This is an old photograph, as you can tell from how scratched and worn. It's one of those old photo booth pictures. And one of the things that has changed is when it comes to changing the size of an image. So if I came down here to go to the menu and go down to Image Size, one of the first things that you will notice is that we have a preview. When it came to changing the size of the image in the past, we didn't have a preview control. So that's a good thing. That's a major change that we're seeing there. They've also changed kind of the position of everything when it comes to where everything's laid out inside here, because they've given us that preview window. And usually, if you paid attention in the past, the resampling was set to something referred to as bicubic. We've always had the options of bilinear, nearest neighbor, or bicubic, but CC has added something new, and that something new is called preserve details. And this is for enlarging images. There's bicubic sharpener for reduction, but then there's the bicubic smoother. And usually it just defaulted to bicubic in the past when it came to changing the size of an image, whether you were making it larger or whether you were making it smaller. And I'm going to change it over here. I'm going to change it back to the bicubic smoother for enlargement purposes. And I'm going to change this to percent. I'm going to increase this to about 300%. And then I'm going to use the preview over here just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. So this, I hope you can see the preview okay inside there. That is what we would have gotten in the past as far as taking this and increasing the size of this image by 300%. But if I switch over to automatic, and automatic, by the way, is going to automatically go to preserve details. Matter of fact, I'll just go to preserve details to show you what we're talking about. You should automatically have noticed a huge difference as far as detail goes. So I'll go back here to bicubic, and that's bicubic, and that's preserve details. And there is a significant difference when it comes to clarity and detail. And of course, one of the things you can do is sometimes this might introduce a little bit of extra noise, and if we want to, we can actually use this to reduce that excess noise. In this particular case, it's actually not too bad the way it is, or the way it comes across. So this is going to be one of those things that's going to be real subtle. A lot of people won't even notice this. The primary thing that they probably will notice will be the preview, because we haven't had a preview here before. But beyond that, they won't notice that it defaults to automatic, and of course automatic is going to make use of our preserved details versus this bicubic enlargement. So pretty significant difference as far as I'm concerned when it comes to the capabilities of enlarging images. One of the things that was always easier to do in the past was to shrink an image down, and we always had issues when it came to, you know, pixelization when we were enlarging, which is why we needed this resampling capability. So bicubic has kind of, it's still there, you can still make use of it. It's perfect when it comes to reducing the size of an image, but it defaults to automatic now. And a lot of people, I don't even know, will notice that. They may, because they may be so used to seeing bicubic, they're going to wonder where it went. This kind of makes use of some of the new technologies that have been in the last couple of versions, including content aware, the algorithms associated with content aware. So if I choose to go ahead and click on OK with that, you can it'll go ahead and enlarge that particular image, and of course a lot of the detail will be preserved in the process of doing that particular enlargement. So that'll be one of the first things that you may or may not see or make use of on a regular basis. We talked about synchronized settings. There are a couple additional things that have been added that are going to make some serious changes in probably the way you'll handle things. As a matter of fact, what I think I'll do is probably back up a step here or two. There we go. Take that back to the original image size. I don't know if you folks have made use of Camera Raw settings. There are quite a few things that Camera Raw will allow us to do. And of course, most people, I think, are probably under the impression that the image has to be a raw image to begin with. That's not the case. JPEGs, TIFFs have been available to us in the past to make use of Camera Raw settings. In addition to that, now PNGs or PNG files can also be opened up in a Camera Raw mode. But one of the things that has been added is the fact that Camera Raw can now be used as a filter. And it being the ability to use it as a filter is going to make a significant amount of difference in the way people will probably handle images in Photoshop from this point forward. The benefit would be severalfold. For one thing, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up here to our filters, and of course, when you do this, you're going to want to use a smart filter, and the smart filter is going to be used with a smart object. So if I click Convert for Smart Filters, it'll automatically convert this into a smart object for us. And then as soon as I do that under filter, you'll notice that I have the option right there of the camera raw filter. And I'm going to open this up. And in this particular case, just demonstrate one of the capabilities that's available inside here. Now, almost all these controls have been available to us in previous versions of Photoshop and inside Camera Raw. But there have been some interesting changes that have occurred. One of them here is with the spot removal tool. Of course, the spot removal tool is kind of like the healing brush tool that we have in Photoshop. And of course, I'm just using my bracket keys here to increase or decrease the size of my control. But what we've seen in the past is the ability that this was kind of like a spot healing brush where I click there and it would automatically get rid of all these spots for me. So, and by the way, this image is is in bad shape, but I could go through and make, changes like this. And if you don't like where it's sampling from, you can always just click and move the sampling location like this. But the big change that we have here is that what this allows us to do now is this allows us to grab a larger area. So instead of just having to click in one area, this is more like the spot healing brush now, where I can actually take an entire shape like this and it'll automatically sample for me. And so I don't have to just stick with the concept of it being just a single spot. I can use it very much like the spot healing brush now. And so I could spend a significant amount of time on this particular image because it's in such bad shape. I don't even know if I could fix everything that's inside here, but the basic premise is the same. Now, the benefit to doing this, of course, is when you make changes to an image or you're retouching an image, what you would like to do is you'd like to be able to retouch that image without doing anything in a destructive fashion. And so our approach in the past has almost always been that we kind of would make a copy of a layer and do all of our changes to that particular layer copy. In this particular case now, I'll just make a couple more changes like that, and then I'll go ahead and click on OK. But another thing, by the way, that goes along with this spot healing or with the spot removal tool is we've got this slider right here to visualize spots. And what I can do is I can slide it across. This makes it really good. This, like I said, this image is in really bad shape, but on a standard image, when you've got little pieces of dust or flecks of something that are on the lens, this makes it really easy for you to pick those up by just using this visualize spot slider and sliding that all the way across so you can see what's going on. Makes it much, much easier. You can also
Mark,
change.
can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm stuck on a previous frame, so I can't see anything you're doing. Is there a way I can refresh this Citrix browser? Or?
Let me click on OK here to close out of this and see if anything happens in the process. Last time I guess, was it last week or was it I think it was the first week. At one particular point, it seems like it's not your screen that's frozen. It's probably the delivery end of it. So in other words, my screen.
Okay.
Even though it doesn't appear to be locked up on this end. Let me do this. Let me stop showing my screen, and then I'll start showing it again and see if that makes any difference once it comes back on.
Oh yeah, I see here it says webcam's not available.
Does it? I haven't, because I haven't turned my webcam on today, so
okay.
It just takes additional resources. Usually, when I do that, did that help any? You should now be able to see Photoshop. I'm out of Camera Raw mode, but you should be able to see Photoshop.
I'm still stuck on the frame with the bicubic.
Oh, way back there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me stop showing it again and just see if there's any option. Well, I can see your camera now.
Okay, probably looking at my wall.
I'm looking at, yeah, I'm looking at a bag and something in the corner on your, well, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Turn that off.
That's a good question. If I turn mine on, can you guys see me? Whoa. Back up, Mark. All right, so that part's working. So you still can't see my screen, though. It's still frozen.
Yeah, I still see that same image. Will this meeting be available recorded that I could maybe watch it after the fact?
Yes, it's being recorded. Yeah.
Okay, then I won't take any more time.
Okay. I'm not sure. Yeah. Hopefully everything in the recording is going fine. It should be. But yeah, I've recorded last week's and this week's, and they'll post it. Now it's going to be a Windows media file, so you said you're on a Mac.
I'm on a Mac.
You're on a Mac, right? Yeah. So I'm not sure how you're going to handle that because it's
okay. I'll just listen then.
okay. All right. So anyway, the nice thing about making those changes now is since we've come out now, you'll see that this Camera Raw filter is available. It's a smart filter, and I can turn that on and turn it off if I want to. And if I need to make any edits to that particular image, if I need to edit that particular Camera Raw filter, I can just double click on it, and it will go ahead and reopen the same image in Camera Raw. And of course, all those options are going to be available to us again as far as the settings that we put in place for the spot removal tool, the spot removal brush. And if you want to, you can come in and clear them all out of here if you need to, clear everything out. That's the nice thing. Everything that we're doing now is being done in a non-destructive fashion because it's just a filter that's being applied to this particular image. So any adjustments that we want to make can be made. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Adobe is doing at this particular point, most of the proponents of, or most of the people that do their seminars directly from Adobe, like at Adobe Max, are basically saying that 95% of the work that you do on images now when it comes to things like brightness, levels, curves, black and white, color adjustments, tonal adjustments, antiquing, vignetting, spot removal like we were just doing, or retouching, all those things should be done in Camera Raw. And the benefit now would be to do that as a Camera Raw filter. Primary reason for that is they are faster, and of course, if they're not done properly in Photoshop, they can be destructive to the image or make permanent changes to the image. In the case of Camera Raw, as a filter like this, we don't have to really worry too much about that. It kind of handles itself for us. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and close that particular image and not worry about saving any changes and open up a different one here. Apparently I'm in a monochromatic scheme today. I'm not doing a whole lot of color as far as images that I'm working with. Another thing that we can do that kind of comes in handy, part of that same filter, part of that same Camera Raw mode that we were looking at just a moment ago, is the fact that if I come back in here, one of the options that's available to us, if I come over here to the lens correction setting, is, and if I come over to the manual tab, they've added this upright area right here. And what this allows us to do is a lot of times you'll take a photograph, like in this particular case, there was nothing that could be done. This photograph obviously was taken many years ago, and if you take a look there, the camera angle was just a little bit off. I mean, whoever took this particular photograph wasn't standing exactly straight. And so you're looking at that particular photograph going, is there anything that we can do? Well, we've got four different settings that are available here. We've got, apply levels only on the horizontal plane here. So I can click that and let it do its processing. Of course, it shifts the image, so it aligns everything on the horizontal plane, which in this particular case is really what we were looking for. We can also make sure that everything aligns vertically. or we can do the apply full level horizontal and vertical perspective corrections, which really goes kind of wonky in this particular case. But we also have this automatic feature that's available. One other thing that's kind of interesting is that in settings like this, people will ask, do you use any of the automatic settings that are available in Photoshop? And most people deny it vehemently. They just kind of go, no, I adjust levels and I don't use any of those automatic settings. Well, unbeknownst to us, Adobe kind of keeps tabs on some of the things that we are doing, including some of those particular settings that we make use of. And even though our mouths in a public setting say we don't use automatic settings, realistically, about 60% of the people use automatic settings. And so that's what this is about right here. This automatic setting, by the way, did everything that was necessary with this particular image. It did everything that was necessary. And by the way, if there's anything else that needs to be done, then you can come in here and make some minor tweaks yourself to distortion, vertical, horizontal, rotate. You know, if anything goes, and by the way, when it comes to this horizontal rotation, it's basically like thing with the camera and just kind of swinging the camera back and forth. All right, now it's telling me I'm experiencing degraded audio quality, so hopefully you guys can hear me all right. Again, I guess it's time to get more memory for the computer. But pretty straightforward, nice capability. It's one of those things where, you know, if you're standing on the street trying to shoot an image of the front doors on a cathedral, and you kind of get this, little bit of distortion that's in place. This will be a good way to come in and make some basic repairs to that without having to go into the lens correction, which is another filter that's also available for us. Lens correction to me seems to be more like if I'm having issues with somebody that was using a wide-angle lens that was too close, or was using a fisheye lens and there's a little bit of distortion that goes along with it because the fisheye lens is designed to do that, and you might want to correct for some of that. So you can show the grid down here, by the way, as well. So there's a little checkbox down at the bottom of the preview window or the settings window where you can show the grid and then increase and decrease the size of the grid itself so you can see what's going on. So that comes in real handy. And this is another one of those images that's a good example of making use of spot removal, because I don't know whether they ever realized it when the photograph was taken, but down here at the bottom of the image, this is probably indicative of the time itself. There's a cigarette butt on the ground down here. You know, so this would be one of those things where today it would be real easy to come in like that and grab that and just get rid of that cigarette butt and make life a whole lot easier for us. And then we can go ahead and click on OK. This is another thing where the would have made sense to change the levels while we were behind the scenes doing that. But again, this image has it's an old image and has seen better days, so it's been retouched a couple times, and this was actually the original scanned image that we're making use of to kind of demonstrate this concept. All right. So that was making use of Camera Raw as a filter. And of course, the nice thing again is anytime you want to, you just double click that Camera Raw filter and go back in and make whatever changes you want, leaving the original image unchanged in that non-destructive fashion. Another thing that has been added is was actually, I can't even remember the term that the term they used. I think it was deblur. They were demonstrating this probably at Adobe Max last year, not this year, but last year, and it was something that people were pretty excited about. And of course, the basic premise is that what happens if you take a photograph, and the issue that you have with that particular photograph is that it was in focus, but it was not on a tripod, and there was just the least little bit of camera shake that occurs when the photograph was actually taken. Well, that's actually what occurred with this particular image. There was a time delay on this particular photograph to get the effect with the water, and as a result, there was maybe a little bit of wind blowing on the camera the day the picture was taken. Whatever the scenario might happen to have been, the image was in focus, but for whatever reason, the camera moved just ever so slightly during that prolonged exposure. And so now with this new filter in place, we have the capability of actually eliminating this camera shake. And we'll actually end up doing the same thing here. Probably the best bet is to convert for a small smart filter and make it into a smart object. And then under filters, we can come down to sharpen, and then the very first one you'll see under sharpen is shake reduction. And then when this window opens up here, it'll automatically look at what it perceives to be the area of the image itself. And let me pop my advanced area down so we can see exactly where that was. So this is the area that initially it looked at, and of course this can be moved, so if you decide you want to drag that down, it'll resample the area. Another thing you can do is in the details area over here on the right hand side, you can undock this detail area and you can drag this up into the picture so you can see exactly what it's doing. So if I put it up here, if I click, that's the original, and when I let go, that's what it'll look like when it's resampled. And I'll do the same thing down here. If I let go, that's what it will look like before, and that's what it actually looks like after this particular image is resampled. You also do have a little preview button up here so you can kind of see the before and after scenario as far as what it will do. If you're not exactly happy with it, you can always take this and move it so you can sample a different area if you feel like that will be beneficial. It is also possible to sample more than one particular area. There's the results there. That's why it wasn't checked. So now if I pull that over here, that should be a little bit easier to see. So there's the before and after of what that particular image looks like. So that would be what the image was originally like. That is what the image will look like after it has been sampled. This shape, by the way, right here also shows you the type of motion blur that was occurred, or how the camera actually shifted in order to cause that. And again, if you wanted to, you can actually add a secondary area if you want to. So if you find areas need cleaning up separately, we could do secondary areas. So if it's just something a little bit tighter in this area, it's resampling a little slower now. That's the point. The original image that I had, by the way, had the moving icon in the middle of it. So this was kind of a screen capture, which is why you're seeing that icon right there. You can also eliminate this if you want to. So if I don't need that secondary icon, I want to move that. I just did get rid of that blur right there. There are minor adjustments that you can make, although the algorithm that's involved in this is really quite good. And so the most you might do is you might look at using the smoothing or suppressing artifacting just a little bit. But beyond that, there are probably not a lot of adjustments you'll do to this yourself. So if I click on OK, it will go ahead and, of course, it processed that. And of course, this little area right here was, like I said, kind of an artifact because this was part of a screen capture. And so that's what's causing that little artifact in that area. But the image itself turned out quite nice, as a matter of fact. So this would be one of those things where we could use if I wanted to, I could come in here with the patch tool, and I could probably come in to that particular part of the image here and see if we can do a little healing patch and move that to the side. Now see, if I rasterize that, that's the drawback to doing that. That's because this was a smart object. So I hate it when I hit the wrong key. I'm on my Windows machine. I just did what I thought would have been Control and I hit Alt because that's where the Command key is on my Mac. I have to remember where I am sometimes. So anyway, that is shake reduction. That is found under sharpen. Another area that has changed in this same neighborhood while we're here is actually the Smart Sharpen. Smart Sharpen has been improved upon, just like Preserve Details kind of improves upon the fact that we can make a change to an image by resizing. Preview is available here also. And of course I can resize this particular window. And the nice thing about this is not only can I resize the window, but that also gives me to look at as far as the images. And so with this, I've got shadows and highlight areas that can also be worked with when it comes to our smart sharpening. So with shadows, if I want to, fade the amount of sharpening that's available for this, or for the highlights, if I want to do the same thing, I can make modest changes here. The algorithm has been improved on. We have additional settings that we didn't have in the past. And of course, we also do have the capability of actually going back and seeing what the legacy settings would be like in this particular case. So it's kind of nice to be able to see that as well, or make legacy settings. Pardon me. So Smart Sharpen has also been improved upon. Let's see, what else do we have? Retouching radio. One of the things I guess I should have mentioned while we were inside reduction. So what I can do now is go back in here to go back into our camera raw filter. We've had the ability in the past to do a gradiated filter or do a radial filter. If I decide that I want to do a radial filter here. Got capability now of coming in here and changing the exposure. Now the way that this is set right now, it's just kind of like making use of a little vignette tool by doing something like this. It's set to outside by default, but I can set that to inside. So now the changes that we make would be the inside as opposed to the outside of that particular elliptical shape that we've got drawn there. You can also change the shape of the ellipse. You can move it. The real advantage is that not only can I do this like a vignette, but I can also use this to highlight particular areas I want to, because I can actually put more than one of these in place. So I put one up here if I choose to so, and I can draw another one down here if I want to. Now that's not doing what we wanted it to do. There we go. So I should now be able to come down and draw a second one. There we go. And so I can put a second one in place. So that's one of the improvements that we've got. Is, it's one thing to be able to put a vignette in place, but now we've got this capability of putting multiple radial filters in place or a graduated filter in place. And then any adjustments that you want to make, of course, can be made over here, so we can increase or decrease shadow areas as we deem necessary. Change the sharpness inside that particular area, defringe, modify color, change the exposure, change the tint. Anything that we want to do inside those particular areas can be controlled. That is the radial filter, and again, kind of like giving you the ability to have multiple vignettes if you were to deem that necessary. Let's see, what else do we have? We did the automatic upright, smart sharpen, sync settings. Let me open this up. We've actually used this in the older Photoshop classes just due to the number of layers that are available with this particular file. This is why I chose to open this particular file up today to make use of it. One of the things that can end up happening is with enough layers, your layers can kind of get overwhelming, with enough stuff going on. And so in the past, of course, we've made use of the the fact that we can create groups for layers and store those in groups if we find that to be beneficial. But one of the things that we can do now is we can actually isolate a particular layer. So if we only want to work on one particular layer, we can isolate that layer, and so we don't accidentally work on anything else. So I've come over here and I've chosen the layer with the word Hawaii on it, and I should be able to come up here to select in the menu and come down here to isolate layers. About not quite, just about a third of the way down. And in the process of doing that, you'll notice that all the rest of the layers, in essence, appear to have gone away. And of course, the benefit now is that that's the only layer that I'm going to end up working with, especially if auto select is turned off, so that I don't accidentally just click on something and then inadvertently choose what's on that particular layer. So in this case, the only thing I can work with is, what's on the layer that contains the word Hawaii in this particular case. When I want the other layers back, then up here in the layers panel, you'll see this little control right here that looks like a little toggle switch. It appears to be red, turning layer filtering on or off. And when I click that, it reveals all the rest of the layers. So I now have access to all the layers, and that just becomes a toggle from that particular point forward. So again, if I just want to work with that one particular layer, then I can toggle that on or off. I should also be able to make a different choice up here and just isolate that, or I could control click or shift click a series of layers and do the exact same thing and just isolate those particular layers. So kind of a step beyond the ability to group your layers, a step beyond locking them, maybe not a step beyond locking them. Obviously locking them is going to prevent us from making changes, but really makes it easier for us to kind of narrow our focus down in the layers panel to just those particular items that we want to work with. So I think you may find that to be beneficial. You'll find that under select in the menu down to isolate layers. All right. And then one additional item that I'd like to mention, and let me go ahead and just create a new file here. And you know what? I guess the size really doesn't make any difference, so that'll be perfectly fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of my shape tool, my rectangular tool here, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle out here. And you'll notice that as soon as I did that, it opened up the properties panel in order to do that. Now, one of the options, of course, that we've had in the past is the fact that we did have this rounded rectangle tool. All right, with the rounded rectangle tool, of course, what we had was the ability to draw a rounded rectangle, but then once the rounded rectangle was drawn, you were kind of like stuck. There wasn't a whole lot you could do after the fact. Now, what they've added for us is the ability to change the radius information on all of my corners. I can leave this set the way it is right now, which means I can round this, and it'll do all four corners the same way because this little piece of chain here, this little link, basically says they're all going to end up being the same size, the same radius. Or I can click on that to deactivate that, he says. Should be able to click on that. Let's try it that way. And do those separately. My machine is apparently growing weary, running out of steam or running out of unique capabilities. There we go. So I just did that particular corner. And I can set this one back to being squared if I want to. So this is nice because this is an adjustment that can be made after the fact. Just open up the Properties window, make sure that you have your live shape properties selected, and with your live shape properties selected, then you're not stuck with a rounded rectangle the way it was in the past. Now, unfortunately, at this particular point, this live shape properties only appears to work with rectangles and rounded rectangles. We'll see if at some particular point in the future they decide to extend those capabilities, but it's still nice to know that we have the capability of modifying our rounded rectangle after the fact. So we can come back in here and just make the necessary changes as we deem fit after the fact. And no matter where that gets moved on the page, it's still going to allow us to make use of that particular shape. Let's see, image resize, camera shake, raw filter, sharpen, sync settings, isolation of layers, no extended versus standard. That is pretty much what I had for us today. That leaves us with enough time to answer a few questions if anybody has any questions. There are only the two of you there, so. Yes, no, maybe, no? Okay. As I mentioned to you previously, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Where should I go to view the recording?
Pardon?
To view the recording, where should I go?
It takes about 20 or 30 minutes after class is finished when I stop recording for it to convert over to the file format, and then what I do is I upload it. It's up to the owner of the company. This is just a shared folder that I make use of on Dropbox. Actually, the owner of the company will go grab that, and actually he'll put it out there for you to have access to. As a matter of fact, one of the things I should mention to you whilst I'm thinking of it, let me open up my browser here. Let's just see if I can crash my system by opening one more thing. If you go to, if you're a Facebook person, SkillForge would appreciate you liking our page, for one thing. And then if he handles it the same way he did last week, which I'm pretty sure he's going to end up doing, he will put a link out here, right here, that will allow you to go view the recorded webinar after the fact.
Where does he put the link? I'm sorry, I can't see your screen.
It's if you go to facebook.com/skillforge.
Okay.
They'll probably send you guys via email a link as well. But if you go to facebook.com/skillforge and like the page, you know, there is a link. There's a link in there right now for last week's InDesign webinar. And once we're finished and this has been modified to the correct format and uploaded, he will post this as well, and he'll put a link out there to get to it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. The sometime now, since this is the third in this series of webinars, sometime in the next week, I'm assuming the winner of this free subscription to either Photoshop Dreamweaver or InDesign for a year will be notified. And chances are pretty good also that he will put something out here on the Facebook page about that as well. Also, if there are any additional classes that you are interested in taking during the month of August, SkillForge is offering a discount on all live instructor-led classes during the month of August. When you register online, the only thing that's required to get the discount is the code, which is the word skill, S-K-I-L-L, and the number 10, 10, all uppercase for the word skill. That's the code that will get you your discount on any live instructor-led classes you decide that you want to take for the remainder of the month of August. So that's another nice thing. That's another reason to go out to Facebook and like that as well, because additional things like that will be posted out here. They're going to start using Facebook more often to kind of keep everybody abreast of what's going on. So social media. That's what it's all about, right? Keeping us all informed. All right. Excellent. So if nobody else has any other questions or has anything to say, that's really all I have for everybody today. I appreciate your attention and your time. I hope you found these webinars to be beneficial. You'll enjoy the cloud. Adobe has a lot of good things that we're making available to us, and a lot of good things to come. And you'll really like some of these changes that they have incorporated into Photoshop. The ability to use Camera Raw as a filter is going to be incredible as far as what you're going to end up being able to do with photographs in the future. So look forward to it. All right. Thank you. Enjoy.